how do you increase your success with manifesting? That's exactly what we're talking about today on Mindful Manifesting. This is Ariana Rollins. Welcome. So you may recall in episode 68, I gave you the 5 phases of manifesting, and we're going to go deep into phase 2, Frustrated and Frantic, taking random action and not succeeding. But before we do that, if you'd like to start to accelerate your manifesting success journey, go to highertrueself.com and get our free download. I like to call it From Intention to Reality, but it's accelerating your manifesting journey, and it's going to give you a wish list and a guided meditation. It's really good. I do it regularly. Let's recap the 5 phases. And again, episode 68, we go into more detail about the different 5 phases. So phase 1 is pushing and forcing, using willpower or stuck in status quo. This is where you are either more masculine and intention oriented, which means you're focusing and you are pushing through no matter what, or you're on the kind of surrender, feminine, receptive, and you talk yourself into everything's okay, it's not that bad. And you really don't believe you have the capability of changing your life and making changes easily and naturally with manifesting. So phase 2, once you've got the clarity on what you want and you've got a little bit of confidence, is phase 2, and this is where a lot of us get stuck. Frustrated and frantic, taking random action and not succeeding. So this is where bright, shiny object syndrome can really affect us. We are looking to accomplish something and we see a particular supplement that looks like it's going to help what we want to heal in our body. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you find this new way of doing social media and you jump at it without pausing. Does this align with what I'm working on right now? We're going to go into more detail with phase 2. So let me recap phase 3 and then we'll jump into the content. Phase 3 is letting go of control, letting go of the masculine mind and allowing the feminine receptivity to allow it to come to you. So be open to receiving instead of making it and forcing it to happen. And phase 4 is manifestation momentum, clearing blocks to receiving. And this is where people really start to get some traction because they recognize that their thoughts and their emotions and their actions are contributing to their success or not. And they start to become conscious of it, recognize the triggers, and they do the inner work, which then leads them to phase 5. Inspired action and results, manifesting with grace and ease. Now, while we would all like to jump to phase 5, there is no simple, 1 month phase 1, phase 2 is another 2 months. It's not like that. We can bounce back and forth, and that's really normal, especially if you're going to be working on something that's new, big, really meaningful. And then more of our resistance can come up about we don't deserve it, we're not worthy, and on and on. Okay, so that's the overview of the 5 phases of manifesting success. Let's dive into phase 2, taking random action, frustrated and not succeeding. So this is where we start to notice we're throwing money, time, and energy at anything that looks like it might solve the problem or get us where we want to go. You're trying to make things happen in this phase. Now you've got the clarity from the earlier phase. You know what you want. You've done your wish list. You're clear. But unfortunately, you aren't tuned in. What do I mean by that? There's this great little story or metaphor that Abraham Hicks shares, which I love it so much. She said, you are needing to clean your home. So you get the vacuum out of the cupboard and you start vacuuming every corner, every inch. And you can see the lines on the carpet that you've covered every area, every inch. But then at the end of it, you notice you didn't plug in the vacuum. So what we're talking about here is that not jumping before you're doing a little bit of the grounding and the prep work, or what I like to call inspired action. And in phase 2, if you're tuned in and plugged in, you're going to get that next little breadcrumb. You're going to see what will be successful and the next step. Now, sometimes we have to try something and then we get feedback and we refine it. So I'm not saying there's any magic here that you're going to get this revelation dropped in from this download from the universe and it's going to be absolutely perfect. No, phase 2 really is exploratory, but most importantly, it's really recognizing this knee-jerk reaction to solve the problem quickly and throwing time, money, and energy into something. So the good news is your energy and your enthusiasm is high in this phase. So you're like a puppy dog going for a walk, chasing a butterfly, a leaf blowing in the wind. Well, maybe not that action-oriented, but you're lacking clear focus on what might solve the problem, move you forward, and anything that looks like it might help, you jump at it. Now, we've all been there, and I will say this is an exciting phase because you're connected with hope and infinite possibilities. If someone is operating from phase 1, they've often lost belief in their life could change, and they don't have access to hope. And I believe hope is an essential ingredient to keep us uplifted and moving forward. So you believe in and you're passionate about your intention from phase 1, you know what you want. But since you don't know what you need to move you forward, you don't know actually what's aligned for you to say yes to. We might say it's kind of the shotgun approach. It's like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. And I have been there, my friend. And I still find myself falling into action before alignment. So we're going to talk about aligned action, which is really the success signature of this phase. Now, again, good news is you're ready for improvement. You just need to learn how to pause, reflect, and start discerning what would be the appropriate next step. Because in the beginning, we're really not tuned in and tapped in. We really aren't certain if something will be effective, especially if it's something new and you are exploring. Nothing wrong with exploring, because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we evolve, that's how we become wise. But what we need to do is recognize, are we progressing? Is this giving us the outcome we're looking for? So I suggest, and it really could depend on you, but it's about 30 days or so, which I mentioned in phase 1, to stick to something for 30 days and start to notice, is this program, is this book, is this helping me? So if someone is in phase 2 and they've been stuck in it for a while, over time their hope and enthusiasm wanes because they've tried so many different books, programs, affirmations, meditations, coaches, and they're still not progressing. And I can recognize this phase very strongly when someone comes to me, especially when they come for a manifesting breakthrough, because they're tired and they're discouraged. They've really stopped believing in their capacity to make positive changes. So when they finally come to me, the first step is healing. I know that sounds weird, but it is. It's healing and reconnecting them with their dream. Because staying too long in phase 2, as I mentioned, is we lose hope and we lose that inspiration. And hope is essential to make a new reality and accomplish our deepest desires. Without hope, it's like we're beggars, and it feels terrible. We have no energy to uplift and take action. So this kind of sounds pretty grim, right? Pretty sad state of affairs, right? Not really, especially when we get into the action items. I'll summarize the symptoms, and then we're going to move into how to resolve phase 2, how to move into phase 3. Okay, are you still with me? Stay tuned, because even though this might feel like a bitter pill to swallow, it is essential knowledge. And then you'll feel empowered by the truth and energized by the action step. So symptoms. Even though you know what you want, you've got clarity from phase 1, you don't have an understanding of the issue underlying why you might be stuck in first gear. Next, you're not connected to your strengths and weaknesses. I call that in my line of work, pivotal area of your life. You don't know what's causing the pain and the discomfort, but you feel it and wasted efforts. But you're super eager to get out of frustration, which is why I like to work with people who are in phase 2, because if I can nip it in the bud and get you out of doing wasted efforts, then you're going to take that energy and move quickly through phase 2 and start into phase 3. So feeling that pain of lack and wasted efforts, you're highly motivated to get out of frustration, and as we've said, you jump into any solution that has a promise, and wasting time and energy, and sometimes even wasting money. So really, if we summarize all that we've talked about, we aren't operating in the present moment. We're just randomly seeking relief. There's no structure, system, or strategy, just temporary relief from frustration. And why it's painful staying stuck in this phase is we aren't solving the issue. And we could start to believe that manifesting doesn't work, or whatever we are using to help us accomplish our intentions. But it may not be that's the issue. It may be something else, which is why I use a different approach, which means after phase 1, since we have clarity on our intention, we wait for inspired action before investing our time, energy, or money. Now, some people get this inspired action for meditation. And if you've been following Mindful Manifesting podcast at all, you'll know I highly recommend Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations because they're really aligned with this work. Some of them are focused specifically on tuning into new potentials, which is future manifesting. Some are actually resolving the blocks that are keeping us out of the present moment. So many good things to do. So if we focus on, okay, this is important, I'm going to pause, I'm going to reflect on what is the next step, then we can make the most significant difference. We can use our time, our money, our energy wisely. And then one thing that can start to happen really strongly in phase 2, which I've already talked about, but I'd like to label it in this way. When you are successful in phase 2, you're not focusing on how you will get there. I know, it sounds opposite to what I've been saying, right? You're going to focus on tuning in and knowing when you're on track and when you're off track, and you feel you're on the path. And this can help us know when action is needed, and sometimes it's not the right action. Oh, there's a fabulous podcast coming up about procrastination. And I'm not sure exactly what episode it's going to be, but look out for it because I had an incredible conversation with one of my business colleagues about sometimes procrastination is a success strategy. And I could say this really is a sign of phase 2 because you're not jumping. You've got clarity on what you want and you are waiting for the right next step. Now, some people come to this work to make more money. And when I ask them why they want to make more money, that's their clear phase 1 intention. And they say, for an example, to pay for healthcare providers. Or maybe I want to spend more time with my family. So in their mind, they have come to a fixed conclusion. This is why I want the money. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I do like the idea of having an idea where we're going to put it. But if we are so determined and we've got this belief that we have to have more money to get our health back, that's where we get stopped. Because what if they could get their health back without paying for health advisors? All of the different modalities that are so out there to feed on people's desire for health. And they know they want health, but what if they went directly after the health? And that's exactly what I would advise and counsel, especially in phase 1. Instead of going for the money, which they're thinking the money will solve the health issue, why don't we go for just what we want? So are you seeing the power here of that clarity of phase 2? Because once we become fixated on a particular path, we close off all other options. If you go for the health and you're going to find maybe the right supplement. It's not saying you don't go for, support and help from others, but you are not doing all of these different techniques, EFT, NLP, doing, B vitamin complex drip. Most people would say that when I know what I want, I should be able to solve it. And that's not the case, not with manifesting, because you would have already solved it. I'm going to repeat that, really important. If you know what you want and you know how to solve it, you would have already solved it. But when you work with manifesting, you become open to solving the problem in a new and unexpected way. Now consider this, pursuing money as an objective versus manifesting optimal health and going directly for that. Which would you choose? So let's go back to this example of the person I was speaking to who wanted to get their health back. They were trying so many things and they were clearly frustrated, and they were getting close to giving up using manifesting to help them. They weren't willing to give up wanting the money. No, they were hooked on that. They wanted to give up finding a solution for the real issue. And here's the amazing thing. Once we give up looking for the thing we want to manifest, it finds us. And I'm going to say that in another way because this is really profound. So say somebody wants better health, or they're looking for the relationship partner of their dreams, and they are so focused on it. Their prefrontal cortex is obsessed with it, and they're looking at life through that lens always. Oh, how many people liked my profile on Match.com? I don't know exactly how that works. I've never done that. Or, gosh, what's my weight like? Or, oh, let me check to see if that pain in my knee is gone. So they're looking for feedback that it's working already. That's a form of doubt. So I'll tell you one thing, there's a proven methodology behind all that I teach. It's not hypnosis, NLP, or EFT. While those techniques have their place and can be effective, we really, if we're pursuing manifesting, we need a comprehensive system we can follow and not just clear out our history and beliefs. We need to know how to woo the future us, woo the future we desire, and create what we want on purpose with vision and strategy. So, when someone is in this stage, they're beginning to look tired and looking for solutions and losing hope. So let me give you some action items so you don't stay stuck in this stage. Okay. Action item 1, anchor your progress. This will help so much. Instead of looking at this all or nothing, like I'm at my perfect weight, versus, wow, I shed 3 pounds. Fabulous. Because when we look at all or nothing, it can leave us living in a pit of frustration, looking for those clues of positive things happening. And if we recognize the small stuff, the synchronicities that ease your way and become little breadcrumbs, we know something's working under the surface. You're making positive changes. You're progressing in the unconscious mind. This is the way out of phase 2. Another action item is reframe a disappointment. Remember the last time you jumped into something and it didn't work out, or you got pulled off track and got into something else? I'd like you, if you're not driving, if you could close your eyes for just a moment, I'd like you to do that. And I'd like you to notice how you feel in your body as you remember that event. Remember that disappointment, something didn't work out. Do you feel anything, any body sensation, body feelings in your body? It's a really good sign if you do, because that's the way your unconscious mind can communicate to you that there is resistance happening. Resistance and blocking happening. And that can actually take you out of successfully manifesting. We're going to talk more about that in phase 3 and phase 4. So what are you going to do here? Your next step is reframe that event. How would you have liked to have handled that disappointment, that situation? Now, it doesn't mean that magically you made it happen and that you pushed and forced and you created it. No, I'd like you to reframe how you would have handled that disappointment. See yourself being proud of yourself. Good. Now, rate that on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being very deeply fulfilling and satisfying. You may have to do this a few times, because at first we can get stuck on, well, I'm not happy with that. I didn't want that. I really wanted it to happen. But if you can get the wisdom, glean the lesson from that moment, you don't have to repeat it. So get it to a 10. And then you would surround it with the ball of white light, place it in your heart with the request. This is how I would like to have handled that situation. Please make this happen in ways that are for the highest good of me and of all involved. Breathe that in and out of your body, and allow it to fill you. So we covered a lot. This is probably an episode you're going to want to listen to, maybe make a few notes. And I'd like to just recap. Success in this phase is you're clear on your goal, right? And you're sticking to one approach for 30 days. And you're making note. Is it working? Is it working? Okay? The approach, not what you're manifesting. You're letting go of that, and you're tuned in to observing. Are you listening to the breadcrumbs? Are you getting breadcrumbs? Are you making progress? And that's going to give you the evidence you need that the methodology that you're using is working. All right, one thing I would like to recommend. Way back when I was first studying this body of work called cybernetic transposition, and I'm going to do a whole episode on that, I created a little mini course, and I think it's only $97, and it's 4 or 5 episodes, teleclasses. You can get it instant access, home study. And if you find you're really suffering in phase 2, I highly recommend it, because you're going to master phase 1 and you're going to get a solid grasp of phase 2 and stick with it for 30 days. I would love for you to try that. I will put a link in the show notes, but I'll go ahead and tell you how to get there. It's called cyberneticmastery.com, and it's called Fast Money Book 101. Cyberneticmastery.com, Fast Money Book 101. It's a fabulous course, if I do say so myself. Even though I did it 11 years ago, it's really good. All right, let's wrap up. And thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, perhaps give a review on where you listen to your podcast. And remember, when you confirm yourself, you are able to succeed to your greatest success on your terms. So much love, many blessings. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.